Have you ever wondered why the guys she says she just wants to be friends with are the ones she texts at 2 a.m. when she's lonely and out of control? You thought being consistent would work. You thought that if you were nice, respectful, showed her you cared, she would eventually reciprocate. But she didn't. Instead, she got bored. Or worse, she pitied you. You felt it, that soft, empty look in her eyes, like she was talking to a child who just doesn't get it. You weren't seen as a man. You were something else safe, predictable, forgettable, and somewhere deep in your chest, a part of you collapsed. You start thinking something's wrong with you. You're not a bad guy. You're not lazy. You have goals, drive, manners. You don't manipulate, don't lie, don't treat women like objects. You actually listen, but somehow, that never seems to be enough. She says she wants a good guy, but when she finds one, she disappears, or worse, uses him for attention, comfort, and backup, while giving her wildest nights to someone else. And here's the truth. No one wants to say women don't choose based on kindness. They choose based on instinct, on arousal, on emotional friction. And if you can't trigger those primal circuits in her brain, no amount of politeness will make up for it. That doesn't mean being cruel. That doesn't mean turning into some arrogant clown screaming alpha nonsense. What it means is this: if you want to awaken her wildest instincts, the kind that make her chase, obsess, surrender, you need to understand what part of you she responds to and why she hides it. Because the truth is, she wants to lose control. She wants to be taken. She wants to feel small in the presence of something greater than her own chaos. But she will never admit that to you. She'll shame that desire in public. She'll mask it with sarcasm, feminism, and jokes. Because if she exposed how deeply she craves a man who sees through her walls, it would make her vulnerable. So she keeps it buried until the right man shows up. And if you're not that man, she'll use you for stability while she fantasizes about someone else. So how do you become that man? You don't do it by asking for permission. You don't do it by tiptoeing around her feelings. You do it by making her feel something she can't control. Tension, presence, a current of danger wrapped in calm. You don't try to please her, you challenge her, not with words but with energy, with standards, with silence. When she tests you, and she will test you, you don't explain yourself. You hold your ground. You let her feel that if she crosses a line, she loses access to you. Not because you're punishing her, but because you know your worth, because you're not afraid to walk away, and that changes everything. Suddenly, she starts leaning in. She becomes the one watching you, studying you, wondering why you don't react like other men, why you don't try to impress her, why you're so still when she's throwing emotional smoke bombs. That contrast is what awakens her, not your compliments, not your gifts, your indifference, your restraint, your refusal to collapse just because she's beautiful. Most men overplay. They chase too hard. They give too fast. They fill the space because they can't tolerate silence. And women sense it. They feel that desperation, that hunger for validation, and it makes their body shut down. Their wild side stays locked up because the man in front of them is still begging, not commanding. Command doesn't mean control, it means containment. You become the emotional container that can absorb her storms without shaking. You don't get flustered when she's distant. You don't panic when she's moody. You don't take her bait when she wants to fight. And slowly, her defenses start to melt. Not because you fixed her, but because your energy told her, I'm not here to be your therapist or your puppy. I'm here to lead, follow, or fall behind. You have to stop asking her what she wants and start embodying what she responds to. That starts with you, with how you walk, how you speak, how you look at her without blinking. It's not about looks or money, it's about frequency. You radiate the signal that says, I don't need your attention, I don't need your approval, I am already complete. And when a man speaks to a woman like that, not with words, but with energy, she feels it in her gut. She may try to deny it. She may even run from it. But she remembers it. Because it's rare, because it's ancient, because it cuts through every filter she's built to keep herself in control. That's the man who awakens her instincts. But here's where most men fail. They get a glimpse of that power, and they squander it. The moment she shows a little interest, a softening in her eyes, a late-night message with just a heart emoji, they fold, they break their frame. They start responding faster, showing more affection, getting comfortable. They think, I've made it. I've unlocked her desire. But what they don't realize is that her attraction isn't fixed, it's conditional. It lives and dies on how you handle pressure, unpredictability, distance. The moment you stop being the fire she dances around and start being the fireplace she leans against, the heat is gone. You need to understand something about female attraction. It's reactive. It doesn't grow because she chooses it. It grows because she can't help it. It grows when she feels tension. When she feels a power greater than hers that doesn't try to dominate her, but refuses to bend. And when that power disappears, when you become soft, overly available, emotionally exposed too soon, her primal brain starts turning off. She doesn't even know why. She'll say it's just a feeling, that she needs space, that she isn't ready. But the truth is simpler. She stopped feeling the polarity. That's what you were feeding without realizing it, polarity. It's not about being cold or distant. It's about having a backbone that doesn't move depending on how much you like her. It's about being unshakable. You see, most guys tie their emotional state to her responses. If she's excited, they're happy. If she's distant, they're anxious. If she praises them, they're confident. If she criticizes them, they shrink. That's not masculine energy. That's codependence. And it's repulsive on a biological level. You want to know how to awaken her wildest instincts. Break the loop. Be the man who stays centered no matter what chaos she throws at you. That doesn't mean being robotic. It means your emotions are rooted in you, not her. When she sees that, something inside her changes. She starts to test more, not because she's cruel, but because she wants to feel safe in your strength. She wants to know that if she pushes, you won't crumble, that if she disappears, you won't chase her into the dark like every other desperate man she's known. She wants to feel the edge of your presence, that quiet message you send by not reacting, not begging, not explaining. But don't confuse this with playing games. This isn't manipulation. This is the discipline of self-respect. You awaken a woman not by triggering her emotions alone, but by anchoring yours. That's when the dance begins. That's when she feels her body reacting before her mind catches up. When her words say, I don't even know why I'm thinking about you, but her behavior screams otherwise. She tries to distract herself. She goes on dates with safer men. She posts selfies hoping you'll notice. And still, your silence lingers louder than any compliment she's ever heard, because she knows you're not reacting to bait. You're not seduced by the surface. You've seen what's underneath, and you're not rushing to claim her. You're waiting to see if she can handle you. This is where most men fall apart. They confuse detachment with indifference. They think silence is a tactic instead of a reflection of internal clarity. But when it's real, when you're truly unattached to outcome, not faking it, she senses the difference. She knows you're not waiting for her. You're building your world. And that world is what makes her curious. Women don't want to be the center of your life. They want to orbit something greater than themselves. Your purpose, your discipline, your quiet direction. And when you have that, your attention becomes rare, valuable, unpredictable, and women chase what's rare. When a woman feels that she cannot control you, not emotionally, not mentally, it triggers something ancient in her. Not fear, not anger, arousal, because you've now become the variable she can't calculate, the outcome she can't predict. And that unpredictability is fuel. The more she tries to pin you down, the more alive she feels around you. But here's the price: you must be okay with being misunderstood. You must be okay with walking away. Because the moment you start craving her validation, you lose the very energy that attracted her in the first place. You go from mystery to mirror, from fire to furniture. This is why so many men fail after getting the girl. They stop being the man she desired and start becoming the man she feels responsible for. And no woman wants to parent the man she sleeps with. The moment she senses that you need her more than she needs you, her body begins to close. So the question is not how do I make her want me? It's can I hold my center when she does? Because the moment you start performing, adjusting, chasing the moment you let her approval become your drug, she will feel it, and she will punish you for it. Not consciously, but biologically. Her instincts will shut off, and no amount of talking will bring them back. This is the game beneath the game, and most men never learn the rules. She doesn't even know she's doing it. That's the part that drives you crazy. 1 week, she's all over you sending selfies, asking when you'll see her, flirting in ways that make your stomach tighten. Then out of nowhere, cold, dry, vague, you ask if something's wrong and she says, "No, I've just been busy." But you know that's a lie. You feel the distance, even if she won't admit it. So you start adjusting. You text more, you try harder, you remind her of how great things were. You hope that if you're patient, if you just show enough care, she'll come back to the way it was. She doesn't. And now you're in the emotional trap she built without even realizing it. Here's what just happened. She tested your self-possession and you failed. She pulled away to see if you'd chase, and you did. She distanced to feel your gravity, but you collapsed. That doesn't make her cruel, it makes her female. Her brain is wired to sense strength through absence, through contrast. And when you couldn't hold your frame, you gave her an answer she couldn't unsee. You needed her more than she needed you. Attraction dies in imbalance. The moment she senses your value is based on her attention, her instincts go dark. But if you had done the opposite, if you had held your silence, let the space breathe, continued living without flinching, her imagination would have punished her far more than your presence ever could. Because women live in imagination. They respond to what they can't see, what they can't pin down. If you're too available, too verbal, too emotionally transparent, there's no friction, no edge, no polarity. You become safe. And safe is how she describes the guy she cries about never being able to fall in love with. You see, the modern man has been trained to be emotionally open, to be vulnerable, to express himself. And yes, in long-term emotional partnership, those tools matter. But not in attraction. Attraction doesn't care about your communication skills. Attraction is biological, it's primal, and it's triggered by tension, by uncertainty, distance, presence, dominance, self-sufficiency. You know who gets this instinctively: the men who never needed this video, the men who never got broken by rejection, the men who naturally live in their purpose, who see women as a part of life, not the point of life. But most men, they become obsessed with outcome. They try to control every step. They try to earn love. And in that effort, they become predictable, heavy, emotional, safe. You want to awaken her instincts. Then you need to stop begging for comfort and start creating tension. She needs to feel like being around you costs her something. That to have access to your world, she must earn her place. That she's not automatically entitled to your time just because she's pretty. This isn't cruelty, this is clarity. Most men confuse presence with pursuit. They think showing up means proving worth. But a woman doesn't want to be pursued endlessly. She wants to feel chosen by someone who doesn't need her, And the moment she feels you're the one applying, not the one deciding, she flips into control mode. She starts managing, criticizing, withholding, because the instinctual roles have reversed. So here's the core principle. If she feels like she owns your desire, she loses interest. But if she fears losing your attention, her instincts explode. That fear is not abusive, it's reality. It's the awareness that a man this grounded, this self-led, could walk away. And when a woman feels that, she's forced to stay on edge, to chase, to open. That's what awakens her body. The men she remembers years later, the ones who haunt her in silence, aren't the kindest. They aren't the richest. They are the ones who didn't break frame, the ones who didn't explain themselves every time she got cold, the ones who vanished when they felt the shift and never came back. That's power. That's impact. That's the ghost she can't shake, because deep down, she knows that man saw her and walked anyway. You don't earn that power by pretending. You earn it by becoming a man who values his own nervous system more than her approval. A man who feels discomfort but doesn't flinch. A man who can handle being misunderstood, judged, even rejected without trying to fix it. That's the shift. When you stop living for her reaction and start living in alignment with your own silence. Most men can't handle that. The moment she pulls back, they spiral, they screenshot, they ask friends what to do, they Google, they wait, they fantasize about a comeback. All of it is desperation wrapped in logic, and it reeks. She feels it. But the man who truly gets it, he breathes deeper when she disappears. Not because he doesn't care, but because he knows what it means. He knows this is the part where she tests his core, and if he passes, she comes back different, softer, hungrier, submissive in a way even she doesn't fully understand. That's what happens when you stop collapsing. You become the man her body obeys even when her words don't. You've probably seen it before, the moment she starts making excuses to see you. Not because you asked, not because you chased, but because you stopped. You pulled back. You didn't fight her silence. You didn't send long paragraphs. You just vanished. Not with anger, not to punish her, but because you had better things to do than babysit someone's emotional volatility. That silence, calm, unmoved, certain, terrified her, and it turned her on. She starts texting late. Are you okay? You disappeared. You're different lately. You see, she expected you to fold, to try harder, to ask what went wrong. And when you didn't, it shattered her mental script. Now, she has to come to you, and for the first time, you're not in her pocket. You're in her bloodstream. Because attraction doesn't grow in access, it grows in space. And you gave her space, but not from weakness, from strength, from indifference that came not from bitterness, but from self-respect. Most men think that if they just explain better, if they just stay patient, she'll come around. But that's not how her brain works. Her body responds to dominance, not domination dominance. The quiet, grounded, non-reactive energy of a man who owns himself. A man who doesn't flinch when she's cold, doesn't chase when she's distant, doesn't beg when she's gone. That scares her, because now she's the one losing certainty. And for once, it's her instincts that are spinning. That's how you awaken the animal in her, not through effort, through absence, through refusal to abandon your own center just because she's confused about hers. Here's the hard truth. The reason she's never craved you the way you craved her is because you made her your priority before she earned it. She was the center of your thoughts, your texts, your plans. You thought that proved how serious you were, but all it proved was how available you were. And in her nervous system, availability equals boredom. She wants to earn your attention. She wants to wonder why you're not calling. She wants to feel the friction of not knowing where she stands. That's not a flaw. That's biology. That's the push-pull of every feminine instinct. And until you understand that, you will keep trying to love her into attraction and keep failing. But once you understand, you change. You stop rewarding disrespect. You stop explaining your worth. You stop negotiating for a place in her life. And instead, you make her earn a place in yours. You go silent when she tests. You go still when she pushes. You go cold when she crosses the line. Not as a performance, as a principle, because you no longer tolerate being emotionally drained by someone who hasn't proven they're safe for your energy. That's what burns into her memory. That's what she tells her friends about. That's what keeps her up at night wondering if she blew it with the only man who didn't need her to feel like a man. That's how you become the one she dreams about while laying next to someone else. The one whose name she doesn't say, but whose gravity she still feels. Because she knows that man saw her, not just the curated version. He saw the manipulation, the testing, the fear, the push-pull, and he didn't collapse. He didn't chase, he vanished. And now, no matter how many games she plays, no one else activates her like he did. Because no one else had the nerve to hold the line. You don't need to become cold or cruel. You need to become unavailable to chaos. Your silence needs to be louder than her drama. Your absence needs to be felt in her bones. And you earn that by refusing to beg for what you can replace. You think she'll forget you if you don't stay in her life? No. She forgets the ones who tried to impress her, the ones who over-explained, the ones who let her emotional roller coaster dictate the pace. But the man who left when her game started, the man who smiled without a word and never came back, that's the man she compares everyone else to. Why? Because he awakened something real, something uncontrollable, something she didn't understand, something she couldn't control. That's what feminine instinct responds to. Not comfort, not consistency, friction. A man who doesn't need her, doesn't apologize for his strength, doesn't dilute himself to be accepted. The man who becomes a mirror for her deepest insecurity and doesn't flinch when she shows it. The more you step into that, the more dangerous you become. Not dangerous in violence, dangerous in detachment, dangerous in how little you need her to stay for you to feel valuable. That's the quiet power she senses when you walk away without bitterness. When you don't block her, don't explain yourself, don't try to stay friends. You just leave, fully, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, and suddenly she wakes up, because it was never about what you said. It was about what you stopped saying. And now she's confused. Not because you disappeared, but because of how you disappeared. No bitterness, no guilt, no desperation, just stillness. That's the part she can't compute. She's used to men unraveling when she pulls away. She's used to drama, to begging, to men who keep the door open just in case. But you closed it without a speech, without a performance, without leaving it ajar. You didn't punish her. You didn't chase her. You simply ceased to be available. And that silence speaks louder than any insult, any romantic gesture, any plea for understanding. That silence says, I am not waiting. I am not wondering. I am not breaking. You see, when you finally understand the emotional economy she's operating in, everything becomes clear. She wants to feel like she's earning you. Every time she pushes a boundary and you don't react, but instead withdraw, she learns that your energy is precious. It's not for sale. It's not easily given. It's not cheap. And when she realizes that her behavior shifts, the way she talks to you changes, the tone in her voice softens, her attention sharpens, her body language shifts from performative to open, because now she sees you, not as a backup, not as a safety net, but as the standard. But it's too late if you've already sold yourself for the price of her attention. Most men never make it here. They give too much too soon. They explain too often. They try to fix what they never broke. And by doing that, they become the emotional janitor for a woman who never saw them as a man in the first place. But you, if you've walked this far, if you've endured the storm of being ignored, misunderstood, tested, and not reacted, then you've crossed into something deeper, something rare. You've stepped out of boyhood, out of performance, out of proving, and into possession. Now, you don't ask for permission. You observe, you let her behavior define her value. You watch for patterns, and you don't tell her what you want. You live it, your schedule, your boundaries, your pace, your direction. She either aligns, or she loses access. No lectures, no ultimatums, just a door that quietly closes behind her while you keep walking. And that's the moment she starts craving you, because now you've become the one thing most women never experience in a man freedom. You don't suffocate her, you don't orbit her, you don't press her for more. You give her space not to punish, but because you simply have things to do. You don't need her to feel worthy, attractive, or fulfilled. You've built that without her, and that's when her instincts light up. Not because you've done something magical, but because you've stopped doing what kills attraction chasing. You didn't break her rules, you broke her script, and in doing that, you awakened something far more powerful than lust submission. Not forced, not demanded, not coerced, chosen, from a place of reverence. Because now, her body senses the truth she's in the presence of a man she can't manipulate. A man she wants to please. A man she feels safe submitting to, because he doesn't need her submission to validate his power. And here's the part most men don't believe until they see it. She begins to serve you, not because you asked, because she feels compelled to. She softens, she offers, she listens. She starts to move in your direction without you needing to guide her every step, because she now sees your attention as earned, not guaranteed. That's what real polarity looks like. That's what real masculine energy does. It doesn't demand, it doesn't perform, it just is. Unapologetic, grounded, silent. And now, every man she meets after you feels weak, because now she knows what it feels like to be seen and not captured, what it feels like to be desired and not chased, what it feels like to be watched and not needed. That contrast scars her, because most men are still begging, still performing, still collapsing the moment they feel the slightest pull of distance. But not you. You learned to let the fire burn without rushing to put it out. You learned that attraction is not something to chase, but something to command through detachment, direction, and dominance over yourself. She didn't break you. She revealed what you were too afraid to protect.